All right, now let's bring back Li Yong and Laurence to get a deeper take on China's reform agenda. So reforms, of course, are here to address how China can essentially address its imbalances. How much emphasis do you think we should place on this GDP figure then, Mr. Li?
I think, beside the GDP, there are a lot of other things I think the country needs to address. As everybody realizes, that the theme of this 2 sessions is going to be on reform, which is going to remove the barriers, that prevent some of the sectors and some of the market players from developing. So the emphasis on GDP is not really as strong as it used to be, and the government is ready to pay, I think, the price for a lower than 7.5, even though the country is confident in terms of achieving the target. But I think more emphasis is going to be on non-GDP parameters, metrics.
So non-GDP metrics, what are some of those metrics, do you think, Laurence, that we should be looking out for? Perhaps the Gini coefficient, maybe the urban and rural income gap. What should we be looking out for?
Well, I'm working with Ministry of Environmental Protection in the European Union. We're proposing right now an idea of ecological GDP, which is GDP plus. That means GDP plus healthcare, plus environment, and also social health, which is an area that covers culture, heritage. A lot of things have been bulldozed in this rush to get ahead and to create more cement and steel. And it's really interesting to look at how this is being implemented, because Li Keqiang has put targets for cutting down steel and cement production. I believe 27 million tons of steel will be cut in the coming year, and 47 million tons of cement. Now, this is a totally new twist on the former administration that was trying to drive this kind of productivity to increase growth. This is about rebalancing growth. It's not about cutting growth, but it's about rebalancing the structure of the economy.
But you have these targets set to cut cement, cut steel. But Mr. Li, we were talking before the show how on the national level you have these targets, but on the local level,
I think it is really a kind of a big challenge, because at the local level, the considerations
it's about
totally
implementation, right?
Different. It's about implementation, and it is also about whether the local government is really following the target that's set by the central government. I was somehow involved in the cement industry, and I haven't really seen any signs in the location where I have been to. To cut the cement capacity. In one small town, the capacity is 2.5 times of the demand. So, and I heard that there are new capacities being added now. So I think this is really an issue, because the central government has a really grand objective, but whether this is going to be implemented is the critical issue.
So you're saying this cement factory is at 2.5 times capacity, and it's still expanding?
Not really. I mean, in the city, there are several cement factories are being operated, and they are producing, far more. I mean, in terms of
than what is needed.
Than the market is needed.
Then how do we ensure, Laurence, that when we have a national directive, that the local governments actually follow the national directive? In other words, how do we ensure that implementation actually gets enacted?
Really getting away from the state planning efforts of the past 10 years and back to the late 1980s, the macroeconomic control system of Zhurongji, which was not just market. It's not enough to use the market. You have to come in with very heavy-handed tactics. And in this case, ordering the cutback rather than actually using the tools of planning to create the market, or to create the kind of market that the leadership envisions, and that's what's happening right now.
Okay.
I think the government also need to really establish very concrete, detailed KPIs for the government officials. Otherwise, I think the objectives of cutting the surplus capacity is going to be very, very difficult.
There's no specific metrics on these KPIs right now, right? Local governments don't have sort of these specific targets in terms of what they should do.
For the past 10 years, GDP growth has been. If you're producing more and you're creating more white elephant projects, you get promoted because it's all visual, it's all material. And I think now, by creating a new measurement for actually the promotion of cadres, will be the incentive for them to rethink how they're running the economy locally.
And in the past, I think getting GDP numbers achieved is the easiest thing for the government official to do. And now I think it is getting a little more difficult. But you know, there need to be very concrete KPIs, and also KPIs established based on each of the individual places, rather than a general, you know, KPI.
Because growth can be around conversion of grids, getting away from fossil fuels, getting into renewables, creating smart cities, creating not transport for the sake of it, for more cars, but actually efficient transport. That's going to also make people's lives much more productive, and it'll be a new form of growth and productivity.
So Lily was just talking about the government battling pollution. It essentially declaring war on pollution is what the government work report said. When it declared war on poverty, hundreds of millions of people were lifted out of poverty. So now we're talking about declaring war on pollution, but the growth target, though, is still set at 7.5%, Lawrence. So does that mean business as usual? Shouldn't declaring war on pollution mean slower growth?
No, it's understanding what is that growth. And if you rematrix that growth, and if that is actually judged on what I said, GDP plus, healthcare, environment, social benefit, they're going to be investing differently. The reality is that the consumer market is not going to be able to drive the Chinese economy as the World Bank recommended. That's an American model. It's not going to work here. The social structure is not going to accept it yet. But if there is investment, infrastructure investment in grid conversion, that is massive. And that is a growth opportunity, and it's a huge business opportunity for both the state and the private sector.
Okay, so overall then, gentlemen, let's wrap it up. Progress in which category of reforms will be the most crucial in 2014, and which ones will actually be implemented? What do you think, Mr. Li?
I think, you know, the government functioning reforms are going to be very crucial, because, you know, some of them have already posed, some sort of, barriers to the economic development. You know, some of them has caused problems. So this is going to be crucial. And of course, you know, state-owned enterprise reform is also very important.
That's going to be very tough. Lots of vested interest in that. We'll see. That's a short-term thing, though. Lawrence, what about you?
State-owned enterprise restructuring, basically turning these into companies, bringing in private sector into state holdings, green growth, and of course the financial sector reforms, which is absolutely necessary to make both things happen.
All right, some great insights tonight. Many thanks for joining us on the program. Mr. Li Yong, Vice Chairman of the China Association of International Trade, and Lawrence Brahm, Chief Economist at the New Earth Group. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.